Hello and good morning slash afternoon, depending on where you are. If you're in Paizo release time, I guess it's morning, and for everyone else, it's afternoon, evening, or if you're on the far side of the world, really, really early morning. Hi, everyone in Australia and New Zealand. I'm here today with Cora, who's been driving the development efforts for the Kingmaker Adventure Path module. Hi, Cora. Oh, oh, hold on. Try again. I didn't.
Try again?
Yeah,
See, I called it.
yeah. You
Hello
did call
again.
it. Okay, I think. Hopefully that audio level is good. I just sort of had to guess it right out of my. I just set the slider in while you were talking to try and make it work out. So,
Excellent.
um, much like we did for Abomination Vaults, I'm very excited to get to sit down and do the official unboxing of Kingmaker. So, why don't we
Yeah.
start by turning on the Kingmaker module?
I think last time you hadn't done a fresh world, and so you were accidentally on like a testing version or something. Because there was like a tile that was broken on the first scene. It was great. We got a really good first impression for everyone.
We've
Um,
learned. I delayed the start by 15 minutes so that I could get things set up. I still set up everything wrong in Twitch, but hey, look, let's import the adventure. So far, this
yeah,
is already better
so
than last time.
you guys know how this goes. You turn the module on and the import window automatically pops up. We've got some options. So like customize world details, sets an image and a description for your world. Um, it's all pretty self-explanatory. If you've already imported the module, there'll be another option called like reset world state. And what that does is it resets the stolen lands map because there's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen, like building world camps and worker camps and like commodities and that sort of thing that resets to 0 if you toggle that on. Yeah, here we go. We've got a getting started journal, got a content warning. It's a bit less serious than Abomination Vaults, though.
Right. So, where should we begin? So the player's guide is definitely built in, and by default, it is shared with all of your players, so it lets
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what's
So
going on.
the visibility should be like, you can give them this journal, and the little eye icon means the pages are hidden, so the players can see the player's guide, but they can't see all the GM stuff. Um,
I will say the
and
first thing that I absolutely love is the crenellated wall that you've done at the top of the journals. When I got to do the pre-release version and I saw that, I'm like, okay, that's really slick, and that's just an amazing attention to detail. I love it so much.
I'm really glad you like it. The journal's sort of appearance of like the window, well, actually, almost everything about the journal appearance is something I did, you know, in previous modules. We've had like Nath did Abomination Vaults, but this was my first time doing it for a module, and so I was a bit nervous. Got a lot to live up to, but Nath did an amazing job on Abomination Vaults, and that was inspired by a previous module because it was Demon Queen. So we've got these like traditions, the boxes with the color coding and things like that
Yep.
that I could build off of. And then I got to go into the PDF and take all the little trim that they've got, the Paizo have got the decorations on the edges of the pages and things, and try and build something similar for us. Um, Try not take it too far. And so I'm quite pleased with how it came out. But I was very worried people would think it was a bit too much. Um, but
I just like some of the additional stuff, like right here when you start and you've got the sort of new faded part for milestones to draw the eye. That it's not just what you
yes.
had before. There's now more. Um,
So I've got a lot of color coding going on, and so my hope is like you'll get used to the idea of, okay, red with the token, that there's an encounter here, that's what the creature is. I think it helps when you open a page for the first time. It really helps to be like the most important thing on this page is the thing that's you're going to be seeing first. Um, and I think that we generally did that. Um, are you checking if my links are broken? I hope not.
no, I realized that. No, I was just yeah. That's what I'm doing. I'm live testing every single link in this. Don't mind me. No,
You're
it's just
looking
sort
for
of
mistakes to embarrass me. It's all right. I think Tikal gave me a macro for checking the little check buttons for the skill checks, so they should all be correct. We even have check buttons for kingdom checks, so that's a new actor type. with a bunch of new skills. You don't need to make a boating check in most APs, but Kingmaker you might have to. So yeah, we've got everything that we need thanks to Soup's work on the Kingdom sheet. Oh, I love this one. So, oh, it looks like the font's not showing up. What browser are you on? We need to.
This would be the native client.
Ooh, okay. Well, one for Nath. But yeah, no, look. Other than the font not being correct, Nath's made some really cool CSS for the handouts. I love the little wax seal he made. Um, and then I've got a little GM text version at the bottom. And the reason is just if the font was set properly, there was like, oh, well, what if you have like dyslexia, you don't want to read the handwritten looking font? Then we have a version that's just plain text for you underneath that you can ignore if you don't need it.
Anyways, what should we hop into next? I mean, the journals are a nice one to start with.
Yeah, journals are nice, but I think there's one thing that probably everyone's going to be very interested in. We did a lot about the stolen lands. So, you know, Kingmaker famously is a bit of a sandbox adventure, and the stolen lands are the region that you explore. So first thing is the map. I think it's just gorgeous. So this is a custom, like we had this made for this module. The map maker is Damien Mamalatini. I can't remember how to pronounce his last name, but it's Bone and Brush on ArtStation, and he's done maps for Paizo before. So he did a like Inner Sea. I think he did
He did the Inner
the
Sea one,
color.
and
Yeah, the color one. The yeah,
yeah,
like the poster map. So um really really cool. His art style is like definitively, you know, it's canonical. This is what Galarian maps look like apparently, and um, he made us this incredible rendition of the Stolen Lands map, and we've got I have a little sepia toned version for like the unexplored fog texture. So if you move your party token around, that will then fill in with the real map as the players explore. So yeah, I love the effect. Um, there's so many small details. We put so much work into this. Like when you're exploring, you'll notice it's filling in whole hexes. That's not, you know, default behavior because normally vision is like a circle. But we
yeah.
have some custom code in here from Andrew to make sure that entire hexes get revealed all at once. And it looks so clean.
It,
Like it looks
it's
really nice.
it's so cool because it's almost like you have a parchment map, and then as you
Yeah.
explore, you know a little bit more. And as I recall, like we've got each of the hexes, and we can mark
Yeah, so
their
here we go.
exploration
This is
status.
some of the more advanced stuff. So, um, exploration rules. The Kingmaker Adventure just uses the normal Pathfinder exploration rules. So some of this functionality could actually be helpful even if you were running homebrew. Although it's currently only set up for this scene, so it might need to be a bit of a module thing to expand it to other scenes. But it's in there now. And it supports setting, you know, has the square been mapped? Has it been reconnoitered? These are like actions you can take using the Hexploration subsystem. But it also supports is it claimed? Because when you start your kingdom, you're going to start claiming hexes. And so that's what that red outline is. That's a claimed hex. If you claim the next one, it'll make that one red too. And the border is sort of dynamically going to fill the polygons. So it looks really good. Um, you can mark where you've built your settlements. You can mark that sort of thing. There isn't any like there isn't like a super strong settlement like subsystem right now. Like we don't have automation for the different buildings and things, but you can mark on the map where the settlements are and like which buildings they have. So you can still track your settlement on this map, and you can see it, and the players can see it, and that sort of thing. Yeah, there you go. Capital City. It's placed. We've got a little icon for, you know, the terrain type. So like this one's a plains. So we've got a little icon. We tell you it's open terrain as opposed to difficult terrain. For some of these, so, you know, if it's mountains or plains or forest or what the difficult terrain level is, I made it up. You know, the book gives guidelines. It says most of the hexes in this region are difficult terrain, but it doesn't always say for every single hex. So if you disagree, then, you know, you can go into the files and change it. It's actually very easy. but it doesn't have a UI at the moment. I don't think that really. I mean, you don't really need to change it, right? Because like, if you disagree, you just disagree, and you just tell your players they can move further. Um, but the
Just
point
wait
was
till we
to make
automate it, and then
sure.
everyone's going to be upset.
Well, automating it would be pretty cool, actually. You know, Terrain nearly won the Patreon vote for the last version. But maybe one day. But at the moment, still, you know, there's so much tracking that you can do as like a reminder of, oh, you know, there's an ore commodity here. They built a lumber camp here. That it would just be so difficult to do. I think even, you know, pen and paper or like without some kind of tool to track what have the players actually built, what have they done. So I really like that we've got some support for this stuff, and we've got journals explaining all the rules and things. So
Um, it's pretty exciting now because I don't know yet. When you clear and claim it, does that show up on the kingdom sheet?
so I don't think that we have like automatic. I don't because I don't know where it would show up. The only thing I can think of is commodities and stuff. But I think that the point of the kingdom sheet, the idea is that so the kingdom sheet was added to the system. So we paid Soup to make it for the module, but then the code for it is in the system.
Yeah.
So that means that anyone can actually use the kingdom sheet because you know, like all the other rules content for Pathfinder, Paizo are fine with anyone using it. It's not you don't have to actually own or buy the AP to use it. Same way that you have all the NPCs. So you know that's something that Paizo have always done. That's really really cool. So because of that, we didn't want the kingdom sheet to require the module. So it will work and you can write in how many work camps you've built and things like that. And I don't think that it like automatically pulls any of this from the scene just so that it can still work without. But that is something that I suppose Soup could do because it's a system feature. It could be expanded, and it would be quite cool uh, if that was possible. But yeah, we're right into showing off the kingdom sheet and the tracking.
I
So
had to
you
put
can
the home of the
see
possums in as the capital city. So
definitely, yeah. So again, it's a helpful way to track everything. Like there's so many things. The kingdom subsystem's quite like in depth, and so having some tracking for all of it, even if it's just writing things down with no automation, is so helpful. And the kingdom sheet looks really nice. I really like the layout of it. It's based on the party sheet that Soup added, which I think people have had a bit of time to play around with at this point, haven't they?
yeah, it's kind of it was interesting to see how quickly people threw in modules when we weren't even finished, and then all of a sudden things that they put into modules started to move into the party sheet.
Excellent.
It was sort of interesting to watch the level of development and the level of just how much people care and really liked it. Like this was something that I mean we've been working on for a while, so I'm interested to see what happens with the kingdom sheet.
Yeah, I'm really excited because as a bit of a shout out, anyone who's been following Kingmaker on Foundry knows that until today, the module that was best suited for supporting kingdoms as a mechanic was Putty's unofficial Kingmaker tools module, and that's a great example of like a community developer sort of stepping up and making something for people to use. And we're really excited that it exists because they don't. I mean, there's overlap, but they don't do the same things like our module and his. And so I think that there's some really cool potential for people to use them both at the same time. There's no reason you couldn't. And you know, his module adds, I think, weather and camping, like things that we don't mess around with. And it would just work as well. And it's possible. I mean, I don't know, but he may be interested in expanding on the kingdom sheet that we've introduced and adding some of his things to it. I don't want to speak for him, but I think it would be really really cool if he did. And I think it speaks to the sort of the commitment and the passion of the fans. I think Kingmaker especially. I mean, this is always true, but I think Kingmaker has really dedicated fans. Like the people that want to play Kingmaker have been waiting for it for like a decade, and you know they liked it in 1E and they want to play it again. I mean, it's got this really really devoted fan base, and it's a really popular adventure. So it's very exciting.
So here you go, another one for the localization error on the border ones for the impassable terrain. So why don't we hop over to one of the scenes?
Yeah, I'm just reading. Okay, Forge have. Oh, this is terrible. Forge have Forge users are getting given an old testing version of the module for some reason that we deleted. Like it doesn't even exist on our servers anymore. Um, so if you're on Forge, make sure that you're playing 1.0.0 of Kingmaker. If you're getting a different version, there's a mistake, and you might have to like try updating or something like that. Um, because yeah, you should be getting 1.0.0. That's really weird. I think Nath's on it. Um, but yeah, check the version that you've got if you're on Forge. All right, yeah, sorry. So maps, Aldori Manor. Yeah, let's not spoil too much. But
Yeah, that's why I'm sort of
anyone
trying
who's
to
played
stick
the
to the first
game,
book.
yeah, and anyone who's played the game will remember this as well. But they added this cool prologue in the video game, and then Paizo added that back into the adventure for the 2E re-release, which is cool. And one of the things we did is Naki made this map. We got him to do two versions. So there's the nice version where everything's intact, and then the version where um, everything's on fire. And I love that we have both of those because it lets you swap over and see the difference, and things literally catching fire if you go into the western map, um, that sort of thing. It's really really cool.
Oh, I know what I haven't done any of yet.
Oh yeah, the music.
The
Oh,
music.
excellent. So again, we talked about this before, but so our audio work was done by Nath, same as AV, but we had an extra sort of ace up our sleeves this time because OwlCat, like who made the video game, have been incredibly cool and let us use like all their sounds, not just the music, but like their sound effects as well. And so Nath has been kind of like a kid in a sandbox, like cackling to himself, putting together these amazing playlists. So he's got the music from the game, but he's got ambient sounds playing, and all of these playlists are set up. So uh, for pretty much every moment of the AP, there's a corresponding playlist that you can play that has like 4 or 5 different tracks and creates this whole soundscape. And one of the things that's cool is because they're separate tracks. If you're the kind of person that doesn't like having, I don't know, like monster noises, or you find a certain sound is bothering you, like, oh, I don't like the goblins chittering in the background. They've all been killed. Why are they still making noise? You can just turn that one off, but leave the other three. Um, so there's a lot of customizability. You can mess around with them. You can move things around. So if you want to make the adventure yours and start changing bits about how sequences play out, you can just start doing that with the sound as well as if with everything else. It's not been compressed into one track.
Yeah, that was something that when I was talking with Nath while he was doing it, he was really excited about that. He didn't just mix all of the tracks, but he made the mix, and then still had the audio separate. So if
Yeah,
if they put out the fire, I mean, I turned off all the epic music, so I don't know.
yeah, yeah.
Restart
If
it.
you want to change, if you want to keep, like, say you're in a scene and the fight stops, but you want to keep the other ambiences going, you can just turn off the fight music and put on a different track, and the playlist will keep going with all the other sounds, so you can selectively choose what's playing, which is really cool.
Yeah, so there, I just turned off all the fire, so we don't hear the crackling in the background anymore. Which I'm assuming this is
Excellent.
actually streaming out, but yeah, it looks like it's
Um.
playing quietly to the stream.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. I've got it muted, obviously. So. Um. I should mention because the module is out and you can buy it right now. It launched on sale, and I saw a question about like how long is the sale for. It's not like a 1 day thing. I don't think we have a specific date, but it's more like I think our sort of vague intention was until part 2 is included in the module. We don't want to be like we want to sort of thank people for waiting a little bit longer for part 2 by giving them a bit of a discount if they're like an early bird adopter. So it'll be more in the scale of like weeks than days. So you don't need to worry if you get paid tomorrow or something.
Yeah,
And there is
so
a PDF discount as well.
the price for the module is $120. It's $20 off or until part 2 comes out. Unless you have the PDF, at which case either the 120 you get it stacks, so you get a $50 discount from the PDF. So it's if you own the PDF and you get the discount, it's discounted down to $50. If you don't own the PDF, then it goes from 120 to 100.
Pretty good. Our pricing's always decided very much like in the last 24 hours, so I didn't know the price a week ago, but we always sort of aim for like lower than we think people are going to expect, and then I'm always going, okay, so lower than people expect. I think I have an idea of what that looks like, and then I get surprised at how low it is. Yeah, if you're on Forge, make sure you're on 1.0.0. If you are, you're fine. I don't know exactly what the bug is that they've got, but as long as you're on 1.0.0, you're fine. I think it might be just that they're serving this old testing version. Maybe if you're on like maybe if you need to update Foundry itself or the PF2e system, they might fall back to it. So there's some kind of issue there, but if you've updated Foundry and PF2e, then you should be getting 1.0.0.
That's funny. So Adorable Coin was so excited they ended up buying 2 copies of it.
Oh no. I think we can probably get you a discount on one, like a refund. I shouldn't say that because this is Paizo's store. I don't know how they work. But if it was just a mistake, then. But if you do really want to do a giveaway, that's very generous of you. And definitely message Tim, and he can try and set it up.
Yeah. So I will say I will happily hold on to it until we do the Extra Life event. I guess I can kind of plug that now. We're planning on doing Extra Life. At least right now, things are not 100% confirmed, but let me double check my calendar. Extra Life Game Day is November 4th. We will once again sort of be doing our charity fundraiser live stream, and maybe it's a little bit early to announce this, but I'm going to surprise everyone and say we're actually not going to do Pathfinder this year. We may be doing, say, Starfinder 2nd Edition, and it's not all finalized yet, but maybe Thurston Hillman will come and be one of the players and bring a couple people along, and maybe I'll be auctioning off a slot or 2. Who's to say? This is all very possible.
Yeah. I'll be playing my Kobold. What classes are there? Stellarian? That's one, right?
So I've already warned Paizo that I don't know much about Starfinder, but I'm definitely willing to learn.
I know it's cool as hell. It's like every time I see Starfinder like art or lore, I just think how awesome it looks.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and invent myself a brand new one-shot, and we'll see how it goes and what we've got, and obviously we'll be running it in Foundry, so it should be kind of cool because if it all works out, it'll probably be the first time Starfinder 2nd Edition will be played live streamed on the internet ever, which is an amazing way. Anyways, this is all sort of in negotiation. It's kind of been happening over the past couple days, and I have zero confirmation that this will happen. But yeah, everyone get hyped over maybe that happening.
So what you're saying is that now that we're done on Kingmaker, once Part 2's out, Starfinder, what APs, they've probably got some. I mean, there's probably going to be some pretty cool 2e Starfinder APs. So
I don't know that they're quite that far into the planning yet. I mean, there definitely will be. But who knows?
I'm sure they're on it. They've got hard at work. I'm really excited. I'm actually very, very excited for Starfinder 2e because my group loves sci-fi, but we really enjoy the Pathfinder 2e 3 actions stuff. A lot of the core design stuff behind the rules is very, very, we're very attached to, and so being able to get all that amazing lore from Starfinder without having as much of a mechanical change is going to be pretty exciting. Yeah,
anyways, that's all stuff that's in the future. I think we probably have a couple cool things still to show off from the right now. One of the things that I really thought was neat is that the random events, there's tables for everywhere.
Yeah, there are tables for all the encounters. Hopefully, all the links still work. I mean, to my knowledge, everything in here works. So, yeah, I mean, it's in terms of like feature completeness, it has everything from the first half of the adventure and a bit more besides. So, all the tokens are mapped even for the actors that appear in the later half. They're just not, we don't use them, but like if you were running the adventure and you're already that far in, you could still buy the module and use those tokens day one. The files for the scenes are in, but the scenes themselves aren't. So um, you would have to make the scene, but like the map is in there. And we have the scenes on our end. We're just waiting to be 100% finished on the part 2 stuff before we release that. So we're planning for it to come out. It will be free. It's not a separate module. It's going to be in this one. It'll be an update to this one for the second sort of half of the stuff as soon as it's ready. And we're hoping we can make that sooner rather than later. Although there are some things that remain to be seen. One of them is warfare. With the armies. I've been working on a sheet for the armies, and it's a bit of a sort of sinkhole of time, like making a character sheet in Foundry, because you can do the basics pretty fast, and then you start going, well, oh, I could do this, and I could do this, and it just starts getting longer, and it's quite fun.
I love that. The purple cobalt effect.
Yeah, why would you not want to have this effect on you? Like,
And I think the best part is the image path is already built in.
oh yeah, of course, of course. So this is designed for a specific NPC, but the effect actually works on anyone. So you can always homebrew a magic item that turns a character into a purple kobold called Tartek. I mean, it's like a win-win. David, I see your comment about the languages. So this is actually a bit of a complicated thing, and really, in hindsight, maybe I should have put a journal entry explaining it. So, although the Pathfinder remaster has changed the name of Sylvan to Fae, Kingmaker is not an Orc licensed product that uses the remastered rules. So, things in the journal text will use the text from the PDF as it was originally written, even if the name of a thing has changed. So if there's a drow, they will still be called a drow in the Kingmaker journals. The language will still be called Sylvan, and that's actually a legal thing. Like we can't start messing with that, But you're completely within your rights to just then read it and go, okay, so it's not Sylvan, it's this language, and put that one in instead. That nothing will break. It's not like a mechanical requirement. It's just sort of how the licenses work out, and it's a little bit unfortunate. But the PF2e devs are still working out how to make sort of maintaining Kingmaker intact while the remaster happens to the system as painless as possible, and we're working together on that. Right now, nothing's happened that's going to break anything, and we're confident nothing will. We'll release updates to the module if they're needed at some later point, but right now everything still exists. So,
yeah, so I'll note
will there
that...
be a journal with notes like that? So that what I just said isn't in the journals, partly because it's not really. Yeah,
the system has its journal that tells you what is changed. So if you go down here, you see Sylvan is now Fae. And this is done in the system.
Yeah.
So what I just demonstrated on stream when I pulled up Amiri is that I went to the languages, and you'll note that Fae is what exists. There is no Sylvan built into the system because this Kingmaker requires 11.309 of Foundry and 5.6 of the Pathfinder system. The characters and any modules will still have to use the term Fae. It's just the actual text has not changed.
Yeah, so I think that this is something where right this moment, I actually don't know if we could include a journal entry that explained like, oh, FYI, this is the reason that things still use the non-remastered names. Here's a few examples. I think that would be fine, but I would want to check, so I'm not going to say we'll do it. But for things like that, there are usually notes in the journals. So if you go back to the introductory journal, There's a bunch of examples. Just the one called Introduction at the bottom.
Oh,
Um,
introduction. Got it.
there's a bunch of examples in this journal in various places of these little orange boxes, and those are the ones where it's like the Foundry devs are like me and Nath and stuff are talking to you about how to use the content, how to run Kingmaker. Uh,
Oh, here we go.
keep clicking on the ones that don't have any. Yeah, there's one. Well, that's an example one, but that's what they look like. Um, and we've got like how to use the playlists, that sort of thing. If you go to the kingdom rules, which are in the appendices, um,
Right there.
that's the player's guide. Yeah, appendices, kingdoms. There's a whole bunch of these. So this page here starts with an explanation from me on how journal visibility works, and then this one has how do you use the kingdom builder, how do you create a kingdom actor in Foundry. So generally the journals have lots and lots of notes on how do you use this in Foundry, what are the tabs of the character sheet, that sort of thing. And I've wrote a lot of these. Yeah, that really big one was that was really like big effort on that. We started doing this in the beginner box because the beginner box is a bit of a tutorial, and it had all these sections that were like, flip the map over and like take the pawn out of the pawn box. And we don't have physical props on the VTT, so I was replacing them with equivalent advice, but I didn't want it to look like it was in the PDF text, because I don't want a situation where a user goes, okay, well, I've read the PDF, so I don't need to read this journal entry. So we need a way to mark, like, this is a thing that's different, this was written by us, it's not from Paizo. We don't want like a confusion in there, and we don't want to start editing. Paizo's original text is very good, so they don't need it changed. So that's where that box comes from, and we've kept doing that because it's actually really helpful. So if you go through the adventure content, I don't know if you'll be able to find one quickly, but there will
Oh,
be a couple of moments throughout where we go, oh yeah, yeah, here's one. So this one says, here's a playlist to play during this encounter, and here is the scene. There's a reminder to swap to the siege versions of the Aldori Manor scenes, because now the manor has been attacked, so the siege is happening. So those sorts of things you'll find in these helpful orange boxes, which is sort of the consistent visual communication of that.
so that works out kind of nicely. And the roll tables, playlists. If you need to re-import for some reason, like all other adventure modules, you can find it here. There's a Kingmaker compendium, and then the adventure import or re-import.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I think that's
So, I
that's
mean,
pretty good. Showed off
yeah,
lots of
that's
cool
it. So
stuff.
obviously there's a lot more scenes that we don't want to spoil things. There's all the characters, there's all the loot sheets placed on the scenes, so there's a lot of loot sheets in this module. Hazards,
Yeah. Oh, all the companions.
yeah, the companions are interesting, aren't they? Because they use the PC
PC sheet.
sheet, but they're NPCs.
That's
Um,
optional rules. Lots of fun.
yeah, and if you own the companion guide PDF, there's some extra content, like extra quests for them in there. We don't have the companion guide content in the module. This is something people ask a lot, and we have it like sort of on our radar as a thing we were considering doing. Right now, though, part 2 is not out yet. We want to make sure that we've got people waiting for part 2, so we're going to be focusing on that as much as possible right now, and then later on we'll be thinking about if we can do it even more after that. There is going to be a point where we hit like serious limitations on the file size of the module. We managed to get it down to 1.2 gigs, which I'm quite impressed by, or 1.1. It's much smaller than I was expecting it to be, but we don't want people to have issues like downloading it or like fitting it, because people who are not hosting on their computer, like someone who's hosting on a hosting service or something, we don't want them to have an issue where it's actually just so large that it's hard to even fit. Have to upgrade your AWS subscription tier or something.
I mean, think there's something like 200 and some odd audio tracks that have been stuffed in.
Yeah, the audio is really, really. Well, one of the things is that the way that Nath did it with each playlist being like several tracks actually is really good for file spies, because it means, for example, if there's like a generic combat music track, he doesn't need to include it every single time. He can he can just include it once and then link to it in each playlist that uses it. So it actually can make for some space savings if you have enough music, and we have so much music, so it's saving us quite a bit of space, because we end up being able to reuse. If there's a storm sound effect, you can use it every time there's a storm. You don't need to use a new one. So yeah, just absurd amount of content. I think there's also like a general playlists folder that has just all of the tracks. If you click music, I think it's just got the entire OwlCat Games soundtrack. Yeah, the Kingmaker OST, and looped versions that I think OwlCat provided us with. But yeah, so that's the actual just soundtrack of the game, you know, right there.
Which, of course, if you happen to own the module, you can go and pull this for any of your other games as well.
Yeah, yeah. So you can if you weren't running Kingmaker anymore, but you still have the module, you can still import like these 60 whatever tracks. You can import all of the playlists that Nerf made and reuse them. You can import the scenes and say, oh, well, Drelov Keep is this other keep now. So there shouldn't be loading issues for self-hosted users, because the modules are actually individually really, really small. Like, we're very, very space efficient. We're using WebPs, so I think there are like 300 party tokens, and the party tokens, it's all like 10 megabytes or something. And so when players are loading in, they're not being sent the entire module, they're being sent whatever is being used. So if your players are having issues, you might need to, for example, temporarily delete some actors that you're not using and re-import them later, something like that. But normally they shouldn't be downloading like 1.2 gigabytes every time they connect to your world. That isn't needed. If you have a lot of scenes, for example, they only load the scene they're in and the thumbnails for the other scenes, and the thumbnails are very small, so they should be fine. The actors don't have a thumbnail, so the actor portraits for every actor will get loaded, but those are quite small. But that's why I say, maybe delete some actors if there are problems, but there shouldn't be. Like, we have it on, good authority. Because one of the first things I asked Andrew when we were talking about how to handle importing the adventure was, I said to him, look, Kingmaker's really long. Do I need to make, 6 different imports, and people import,
as they
3 chapters at a time or something? And he said, well, actually, Foundry can easily handle 500 actors in the world, as long as you don't have modules that are adding a bunch of data to them and things like that. So he thinks that it's going to be fine, and I haven't had any issues personally on my computer. I haven't had any lag or anything. If we get reports that people are having issues, we can try and shift things around, but it should be good. Just gonna check if any other.
I will do one thing, and let me just pull up the list of names. So we had a couple of people from the community step up and do some of the polish and eliminate a whole bunch of different bugs in the week leading up to this. So just a quick shout out to Infamous Sky, Ashion, Dogstar B, Feargoth, and Morfu, who all went through with a pretty fine-tooth comb, found a whole lot of things, and got the module really cleaned up for release. So,
well, technically they just told me all the mistakes they found, and then Matt is the one that did Matt and nothing away, but Matt did a lot of it was funny because I came back from a weekend, they sent the testing keys out, and then I came back from the weekend all right, time to go into the mines. There's going to be 100 reported issues. And there were 100 reported issues, but Matt had already closed them all. He was like, yeah, fixed. So yeah, everyone thank Matt. Everyone thank the testers for reporting a whole bunch of stuff. We've had a pretty, honestly, pretty easy last 2 weeks of development, because the testers were very thorough, and then we had already sort of laid all the groundwork. We knew what we were planning, and it's been it's been quite leisurely actually. We had a pretty good time of it.
Yeah, it was neat sort of watching it come together, because although I wasn't strictly a tester, I did get a front row seat to watch it all unfold, and it was pretty neat. Like, literally, issues would get reported, and then I'd see a push fix by Soup to Master, and it was just sort of like, okay, good, we got this done. And
yeah, we definitely need to shout out Soup again, because I did earlier, but like I want to make sure people know like who's responsible for it. So the Kingdom sheet, we commissioned Soup, who's a PF2e system dev, to add it to the system. So everything with the Kingdom sheet and the tabs and the layout, Soup worked really hard on this, and because he's one of the main developers of the system already, he already knew the sort of the design language and things like that. So it ends up feeling really intuitive. If you've used the normal PC sheets, there's a lot of shared visuals, like consistent UI, things like that, because we got the same person basically, that works on those to make these much better than we could have done ourselves, because it would be a different author. You would notice stylistic differences. And yeah, he's been working really, really hard on it. He was already working on this party sheet, and so they've complemented each other really well. And I think that the Kingdom sheets come out, like, it's really, really good. And yeah, it is a core feature, although I think it's a bit tricky to access if you're not using Kingmaker, because I think there's a setting you need to enable for it to appear, because obviously most people aren't going to need it. And the module just enables that setting for you automatically. So I'm sure people will be passing around a macro or something to make it really easy to make one, even if you don't own the module. And
I'll say that this is going to be very similar to the party sheet, where there was a little bit of early access, we got some feedback, and then we eventually enabled it as a system feature. I'm sure people are going to, much like the party sheet, go around the blocks that we have in for very good reason for right now, and turn it on. And then please don't come and file bug reports and complain, because again, yes, this is new. This is very new, and although I'll say we're probably out of beta.
But like, constructive ones, right? Like,
I'm sure that Kingmaker or Kingdom Sheet Helper will be coming out as a module to you very soon. For all the things that are not covered off quite yet.
Yeah. For Kingmaker issues, if you find any, we use the same issue tracker as for Abomination Vaults in the beginning box. It's just when you write an issue, there's a drop down with a list of all the modules, and I'm 99% sure that I already added Kingmaker to that drop down, so you can fill it in there. I should pin a link in the Kingmaker channel, like in the AP hub. Yeah, here we go.
So unless you or Nath have something else that they'd like pointed out, I think that was a pretty successful unboxing. It looks amazing.
Yeah, I think we covered everything. We covered all the kinds of sort of the types of content. I'm checking if there are any questions that I haven't answered, but I think that we went through them all. So yeah, I think that might be it. I'm really excited this is out. We've been working very hard on it for like 9 months or something. It's not completely finished yet. We've got part 2 to come out, but like, you can download it, you can play it, you can give us feedback, and we'll be working on the patches and the next, updates to it, like, starting next week, really. So, hope you guys enjoy it. Please report bugs. Be gentle though. It's a lot of content.
No kidding. Well, with that, thanks for hopping on the stream, Cora, and
thank you for having me.
I wish everyone a wonderful day. Again, on sale right now. Go over to the Paizo website. Links are posted literally everywhere. So no more waiting. Just go buying and playing Kingmaker. I'm very certain a lot of games are going to be starting up very shortly. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone, and bye from us.